Greetings, this is Sean, and today I'm going to be making this miniature bench vise for a bench that I made several weeks ago. This is for my Colonial Carpenter shop, and here we go. Those are the two basic pieces that are going to make up the jaws of the vise, and it's a 1/16 inch basswood, and they're 1/2 inch wide, and they're about 1.5 inches long. And what I'm doing is I'm marking about 1/8 of an inch in on both sides and about 1/4 of an inch down. I'm just going to kind of give it a curve, kind of curve it around to give it a shape. You'll see here in a minute. Now I'm just going to take this blade here and cut those out. Of course, simple. Be real careful with it. Remember, when you're using sharp objects, to always cut away from yourself. Don't cut towards yourself. Make sure that your blades are sharp so they cut better. Yeah. Use common sense. Now that I've got that one cut the shape that I want, I'm going to give it a quick sand just to give it, take away some of the rough edges and define the shape a little bit better. And then I'll trace that pattern of that one onto the other piece there and do the same thing. I'm just making sure that they match up in shape, and I'm kind of chamfering the two outside edges right there just to give it a little bit of smoother surface, smoother edge, smoother look, whatever. Now I'm just rounding the bottom of it to take away the corners. Now I'm going to be drilling holes for the metal bar that you see there, aluminum bar rod. I'm gonna thread it, and it'll actually be like a threaded vise to where it'll actually move back and forth. So I'm drilling the holes for that, and then there'll be another another dowel that I'll use to keep it straight while it's to help support it so it doesn't turn, which you'll see here in a minute. And this is a tap and die set, and I'm actually using I can't never remember which is the tap and which one's the die. Anyway, I make a thread on the inside of the vise head, and then only on one of them though, and because the other one it'll be glued to. So here I am. I'm going to tap the rod with thread that matches what I did on the inside of the vise head. I thought I would try also, just for fun, doing it on a piece of wood, just to make it all wood instead of using the metal, but it didn't work out that well. It's cheap wood for one thing. What I could have done is added some glue or something to the wood to give it a little bit better of a surface to thread, but it didn't work as well as I was hoping it would, so I decided to abandon that idea. And if you remember when I was making the axes last week, or earlier, yesterday when I posted those, the handle that I used for the axe was actually that rod that I had tapped the threads onto. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I added a little bit of super glue to the threads there, just to give it a little bit better, so they didn't get stripped out when I was using it. And it didn't work out too well. It got too wet, and it expanded, and then it contracted, and it got too small. So I ended up having to tap the other one to use it, and it worked much better that way. So it works out. I made the hole on the one that I tapped first as the hole that it'll go through. You'll see what I mean. It's kind of hard to explain in words. So here I am. I'm just cutting the threaded rod to length, and then the dowel. So okay, now what I'm doing is I'm using this. It's a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch rod. Actually, I think that was the 5/32. It was too small. Couldn't get the hole right. So I ended up getting a bigger one and making it a 1/4 inch. And what I'm trying to do is drill a hole for the threaded rod to go into, and that'll be the crank part that's on the outside of the bench, to be able to turn the vise. So here I make a little bit bigger, get a bigger one. That's 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch dowel. Yeah, and I was drilling a little bit crooked, but that's okay. I didn't go very deep. And then what I'll do is I'll drill a hole through that, and I'll use this toothpick for the handles. A little bit too long. Ended up making it about 1.5 inches long. I've got this new glue that I'm trying out. It's a wood glue for models, for like model airplanes, and I tried using that, and that actually it works pretty good. It's not a bad glue. This stuff here by Tester. It came out really fast though, but anyway, it actually held pretty good. It dries in about 10 seconds. It's almost like super glue, but it doesn't stick your fingers together like super glue does. So I may use that a little bit more often here. I'm still trying it out. Anyway, so I'm drilling a second hole in the bottom of each one, and I end up getting a little bit crooked, but I'm able to straighten it out later on. So now I'm just rounding off the end of the unthreaded rod there, just to take away some of the burrs from cutting it. So the threaded one will go on the top, and the unthreaded one will go on the bottom, obviously. I didn't want to go all the way through on that bottom piece that I'm actually gluing it to, because I didn't want it sticking out the other end, basically. So here I am, just making sure it's all lined up, which, like I said, is a little bit crooked, and I don't know if I'm missing something, or if it's supposed to be attached, how it's supposed to attach to it, but I had to move the jaws by hand rather than the screw moving the vise by itself. I don't know what I'm doing wrong or what I did wrong, but it is functional, but it's not really going to be used. So here I am. I'm just kind of making it smaller, shaping the rod a little bit so it'll fit easier and slide easier through the holes. Not the threaded one, the regular one. But it serves a purpose. It looks good. So here I am. What I need to do now is cut out a notch, and it shows the notch being cut out to where the vise is sitting above the bench, but when you do, the threaded rod goes into the side of the bench, and so I decided to make the vise flush with the top of the bench instead of sticking up above it. So probably not the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way I did it. Otherwise I'd have to drill a hole through the side of the table or the bench and to make the rod be able to go through it, and I didn't want to do all of that, so I just left it like that. So anyway, I'm just going to glue that in place, and then I'll clamp it down so that it stays glued in place there. And I'm just trying to find a little shim to help keep it level. Now I'm trying to find a clamp, which I end up not using this clamp because it kept pushing it downwards. It just wasn't what I wanted, how I wanted to clamp it. So I ended up getting one of these clamps, but it was too wide to fit into the hole, so now I've got to find some other shims to be able to press that down. And then it was pressing it down crooked also, so I took a drill bit to hold it level and flat. A lot of work to get that thing clamped in. So anyway, now it's just a matter of putting it back together, making sure I got the right pieces going in the right spot, which they all do. And that's basically the bench vise. But like I say, as you'll see here in a minute, the clamp, the handle that I'm turning there doesn't really move the head of the vise. It kind of does going in, but I have to kind of push the bottom at the same time to make it actually go well. So anyway, but it does hold a piece of wood. It was pretty secure. A little bit of movement, but that's all right. Anyway, that's my attempt at a bench vise, and that bench is now finished, and I'm actually started working on the building itself. So that's probably going to be my next big thing that you'll be seeing in the next week or two. And anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and hope y'all are enjoying this series as much as I'm enjoying making these pieces. Anyway, have a better day, as I always say.